Christmas party for Liberty Church. I'm sure most of you know that already. My name is Troy Kirkman. My claim date is August 28, 2018. I'm blessed to be here today, suffering from alcohol, drugs, and combat PTSD, amongst other things. So our lesson today is lesson 1 out of the nice 6 lessons in the book. I believe there's 26 of them in total. That's why we skipped one to a testimony. And lesson 1 is also principle 1 and step 1. So we start right at the beginning. You know, in AA, NA, and all those, step 1 is we admitted that we were powerless over our addictions and compulsive behaviors, and our lives to become unmanageable. Principle 1 is realize I'm not God, admit that I'm powerless to control my tendency to do the wrong thing, and that my life is unmanageable. And those who know me spiritually poor, Matthew 5:3. Our first lesson is on denial. And I can go into a long tangent about that river in Egypt, but that's not what we're talking about today. Although I always say, though, I mean, when you step out of denial, it's going to take a while for your boots to dry. And I do mean that as a true analogy, because denial has many levels. It really does. And just when you think you've stepped out of denial, you realize your boots are still squeaking a little bit. You've got to step out of something else because you didn't give it all up. So there just seems to be a lot of things going on with that when we really get into it. Even when we have a few years clean and sober, we get to step 10 and we do our daily inventory. If we're really being honest with ourselves, we go, well, I'm not as bad as so-and-so, and that's really not hurting anything. Well, that's also denial. So we really have to reevaluate things constantly. So according to the lesson plan that I have here, I got a lot of different notes, but I mean, the idea of denial really is to, let's try to throw away the brick before it becomes a wall. It's awfully hard to knock that big wall down. You know, while you just have it as a brick, it's not that hard to toss it away. You know, but we just never want to do that. We're comfortable with what we have. So it's, you know, we end up building this big wall and then we're comfortable behind it instead of trying to move it. I mean, just realistically, trying to get rid of denial is all about perception, and it's like step 10, a constant GPS, trying to put ourselves back on track. We can only do that in these groups because hearing from other people is going to give us a little difference of our perception. We're going to look at things a little different. We can put ourselves in somebody else's shoes and look at their opinions and how they do things, because that really makes all the difference in the world. We really can't see our own flaws until we're past them. A good pastor on Sunday, one of his big sayings just the other day was, life is lived forward, but it's understood backwards. I really, really like that phrase. The older I get, the more I understand stuff like that, because I can look backwards and see how far I came, but I sure as heck couldn't look forwards and see anything. You know, I mean, I said a long time in my testimony and stuff that I thought I was taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back for so long. And then all of a sudden I'm over here and I'm like, wait a minute, how did I get over here? So, well, what happened? Well, I sure as heck didn't teleport over there. I mean, something happened. Well, the whole time I was taking 2 steps forward and 1 back. But I was getting ground. I just was a lot slower than I wanted. Because did anybody identify with wanting everything or wanting it right now? Nobody, huh? Nobody? Okay, yeah, everybody, of course. So, I mean, that's kind of how we are. So, denial is a journey. And this is a journey that we need to do together on the road to recovery. Now, breaking up denial, the lesson breaks it up into 4 parts, basically. The highlights I have on here are pretty simple. They want to look at Hebrews 12:1. Since we have such a huge crowd of men of faith watching us from the grandstands, let us strip off anything that slows us down or holds us back, and especially those sins that wrap themselves tightly around our feet and trip us up. And let us run with patience the particular race that God has set before us. Notice, run with patience doesn't mean a sprint. So, I mean, this is not a 40-yard dash. So, it's okay to get tired here and there, but the idea is to drop the weights and keep moving forward. So, I mean, the lesson also talks about we need to be willing. If we're not willing to make those changes, to drop some of that stuff, we're not going to gain any ground. So, you know, I mean, what we talk about in step 1 is we admit, we realize we're powerless. Both the principle and the step both definitely unmanageable. We found our ways to jails, institutions, whatever else. And so it's not hard for us to figure out that we don't want to be where we are. Others don't reach that low of a bottom. But certainly we didn't get here because we wanted to be. Some happened. So as things get better, I see a lot of people run out those doors. Well, they forgot how they got here. And then when they come back the next time, things are that much worse. Denial runs very, very deep. We need to work on this stuff. Our past hurts, hang-ups, and habits, they hold us back. And, I mean, let's face it. I don't see anybody in here who's about 10 or 12 years old. I mean, every one of us has been hurt in some way or another, period. And I mean, there's no doubt in that. In some ways, it happens. And one of the biggest things I grab onto is the serenity prayer. Does anybody want to quote the serenity prayer for me? Courage to change the things that can't, wisdom to know the difference. So, I have to accept only the things I cannot change. I don't have to accept everything. Because I can make some changes. Okay? So I have to know what I can change, and I have to know the difference. That is a quest. So there's work to be done. We have to understand there's work to be done. The rest of this lesson talks about, this is a Christ-centered recovery program. And it will, with God's power, it will allow you to find the courage and strength to forgive people, don't get stressed out, you're going to be able to make the changes. Basically, we're wrong, but God can. You know, there's no question about it, but we have to be able to turn it over. I mean, all of us have fears for the future, and all this, we have to understand that this is a race with patience. It's going to take some time. We didn't get here in a day. We're not going to get fixed in a day. And we can become this way in a day, and it just doesn't get fixed in a day. It's not going to happen. Time takes time. I hated that phrase. I never wanted to hear that phrase. I didn't want to say that phrase. It's like when you tell your kids, because I said so. I never thought I'd ever said that. First time I said that, I'm like, oh. I did say it. It's the same thing. Time takes time. It really does. We have to learn and go through this stuff. And that's the same thing when we're trying to put things back together. But our fears for the future, I talk about this a lot. We spend way too much time worrying about things that could happen. And most of the time they never happen. You know? And then we're ticked off about the past, worried about the future, and we never enjoy the present. I mean, it's like that for almost all of us, what I can find out. The Bible says, do not fear, or some form of it, 365 times. Is that a coincidence that there's 365 days? Yeah, that's just a coincidence. That doesn't mean anything. Well, that's just a coincidence. Yeah, no, not at all. And I mean, let's face it. I mean, we definitely need to pay attention to some of that stuff. Well, the other thing we have to remember is this: if you don't think you have any courage, maybe we don't understand what courage is. Okay? Courage is not the absence of fear. Not at all. Okay? If you look and read the Bible, there's different things, Paul, or David hiding in the cave from Saul, and all those other amazing things that happen, all this stuff. People were afraid. They're not going to not be afraid. But that's not what courage is. Courage is what you do in spite of the fear. That's what courage is. So courage is not the absence of fear. It's what we do in spite of it. And I can tell you as a combat veteran, it definitely stings and rings true. So what actually is denial? Denial has been defined as a false system of beliefs that are not based on reality. And as a self-protecting behavior that keeps us from honestly facing the truth. I mean, this is where we get into, well, what is the truth? What's your truth? Well, it's not in the Bible, it's not true, it is for you. So, I mean, there should be one truth that should be in that book, but if we have to ask, well, what is your truth? Well, then we're a little bit disturbed here. We need to get back on the right track. But perception is where we get misled and where we kind of step out of line. I mean, perception is what it says in here multiple time and time again. Okay? Our perception of ourselves and expectations of all those around us change how we see everything. Okay? When we wake up in the morning, we have a choice. Am I going to have a good day? I'm going to be pissed off at the world. You know, I mean, we really do. I know people that have horrible things happen to them, and they're still like, well, it wasn't as bad as stuff I faced before. I'll get through it. And we have people that stub their toe, and the whole world's going to come to an end. Yeah, I mean, let's face it, I've been there, done both. So, now our coping skills is what this talks about. And do we even have coping skills? I didn't when I first came in these rooms. I had to learn them. So, if you don't think you have coping skills, guess what? Been there, done that, bought the shirt, and had to figure out which one I could wear, because I had no idea. So, this talks about denial being the pink elephant in the middle of the living room. Yeah, pretty much. Everybody knows it's there. Nobody wants to admit it. It's just this big monstrosity there. Nobody wants to admit it's there. In other words, can we stop talking about it? It just makes it worse. Well, if we don't talk about it, it'll go away. Well, let's just pretend it didn't happen. Well, if I tell her that it hurts me when she says that, I'm afraid she'll leave me. Well, he doesn't really drink that much. Well, it doesn't really hurt when he does it. I'm fine. Well, but he drinks more than I do. Well, he's been married 3 times. I've only been married twice. It's not a big deal. I eat because you make me mad. It's not a big deal. If you didn't nag me all the time, I wouldn't do it. All these different things. And you could probably end that list about 500 pages down, but that's the list that they gave me for examples. You can make excuses from here until, I'll just be nice and say Christmas. It's only a few weeks away, but you can pick a few Christmases from now and still be making excuses. There's always excuses you can make. We don't need to make excuses. We need to overcome adversity and move forward. So, as we get to your notes there, we have an acrostic for today, like we always do in Celebrate Recovery, because we just love abbreviations that mean something. Have to do it. Okay, here we go. Denial. So the D stands for disables our feelings. Yes, we're at lesson 1, and we're already talking about feelings. Who wants to run away screaming? Anybody? Anybody? Yes, disables our feelings. I can say from experience that I tried to do all the stuff to get rid of my feelings with combat PTSD and all that stuff. I don't want to deal with it, but denial disables our feelings. Really does. I mean, to understand our feelings and how we should react to different things, we need other people. We need to come to these groups. We need to have other like-minded people on the same quest as us so we can relate to it. Build friends in these rooms and be able to move forward. It just makes sense. If you want to build a house, are you going to hang out with a bunch of drug addicts in the corner, or are you going to hang out with a bunch of carpenters? If you're going to build a car, are you going to hang out with a bunch of plumbers? You're going to hang out with mechanics. And it just makes sense. I mean, so that's what we need to do. E. So the D is disables our feelings. E is energy lost. Okay, that's one of the biggest ones I can see on here. A major side effect of denial is anxiety. Ooh, big word. Anxiety causes us to waste precious energy dealing with past hurts, failures, and fear of the future. It's almost like deja vu, isn't it? Let's talk about that. So as you go through this program, you're going to learn that it's only in the present that positive change can occur. And that's absolutely true. That's why they say do the next right thing. Do the next right thing, do the next right thing. Because that can be in our control. That little bit of now can be in our control. Just do the next right thing. Because if we focus on now, well, we can do that. We can't change yesterday, and we can't jump to tomorrow. And would you want to? We don't know how to get there. So, let's face it, once we learn to do that, we're a little better off, and our energy isn't lost in worry. We let our fears and worries paralyze us, but the only lasting way we can be free is by giving them to God. Again, the surrendering prayer really is the biggest thing. Psalm 146:7 says, He frees the prisoners, He lifts the burdens from those bent down beneath their loads. If you transfer the energy required to maintain your denial and continually worry and depend more on God, it goes away. It's really funny. Fear and anxiety and worry is the absence of faith. That's what they continually say. Now, I don't know how to apply that in my life perfectly, which is probably why they say it 365 times in the Bible, because people like me need to hear it. How often? Every day. Every day. And somebody said it. I didn't want to anyway. But yes, every day. I really do need to hear it every day. So, it's something I have to continue to remind myself of. It really is. Okay, so we are disables our feelings, energy lost, and it negates growth. Okay? It's hard to grow in our understanding of feelings, emotions, relationships, and everything else like that when we're in denial about something. How can we address a situation if we don't believe there is a problem? I mean, that's the way it is. We can't grow in recovery until we're ready to step out of our denial into the truth. God is waiting to take your hand and bring you out. But He's not going to just grab you and throw you out. He's waiting to take your hand as you walk out. You have to want to do it. I mean, that's the way it is. They cried out to the Lord in their troubles, and He rescued them. He led them from the darkness and the shadow of death and snapped their chains. That's Psalm 107, 13 through 14. Notice He didn't just grab them and chuck them outside. He led them. So they have to start walking in that direction. And there's an action step there. Okay? So as you travel the road of recovery, you'll come to understand that God never wastes the hurt either. And that's one of the biggest things, too, which you'll find later on in recovery, which, frankly, I still find amazing. I really do. And every time I hear something, deal with something personal in my own life, all of a sudden I bump into somebody who's going through something similar, and I can share my strength, experience, and hope with them. And it just happens again and again and again. It's like, okay, I get it. And that can be the only reason why. I mean, they keep telling me I'm supposed to do that, and they keep getting me situations where I can't. And it's not a coincidence. So God will never waste your darkness, but He can't use it unless you step out of denial and step into the light. Darkness will always run from light. Okay? Darkness cannot overcome light. So we get to the I now. Only 3 letters left. Yeah, I wonder about time. So the I is denial isolates us from God. If we're living in a lie, we're living in that sin. God is not where sin is he? So when we're living in that, we're away from that. Genesis 3:7 tells us Adam and Eve hid from God because they were naked and ashamed. He first tried to blame God, saying, "You put the woman in here with me." And we've been blaming her since for that one. But anyway, come on, laugh. Please laugh. Anyway. And he tried to blame it on Eve and everything else like that. Yeah, okay, we make our own decisions, we know that. But anyway, our denial keeps us in the dark. God is light, there's no darkness in Him at all. So it's pretty simple that, when we go to Jesus, we go to God, His Son purifies us from all sin. But we have to ask Him, we have to try to live that way. Again, when we try to do the next right thing and live in the moment, that kind of clears everything up. We're not all ticked off about yesterday, worried about tomorrow, and living there. We can't really do anything there. But if we're in the moment, we can say, "Hey, God, help me out with this week, please." And you try to do the next thing. That's going to change things a little bit. I mean, it's going to at least put us in the now and give us a position to do something. All right. Moving on to the last 2 letters. A is alienates us from our relationships. Ooh. First feelings, now relationships. Nobody wants to run yet? Okay. We didn't lock the doors, just so you know. Anyway, yes, when we're talking about feelings and relationships, things get pretty serious. But as we get into recovery first, we realize that relationships are more important than a lot of things. They really are. And, hey, denial tells us we're getting away with it. We think nobody knows. Can anybody else identify with that? And everybody do, by the way. With me, anyway. Denial may shield us from the hurt, but it also keeps us from helping ourselves. Or the people we love the most. We don't dare reveal our true selves to others for fear of what they'll think. And the problem is there to know, but anyway. We're trying to protect ourselves at any cost, to isolate ourselves and minimize the risk of exposure. Well, it doesn't really work. So what's the answer? Ephesians 4:25 says, "Stop lying to each other. Tell the truth, for we are parts of each other. And when we lie to each other, we are hurting ourselves." Pretty powerful. What it comes down to is, if we have fellowship with each other in these rooms, we're all trying to work on the same thing. We're helping each other. We're all here for similar reasons. I don't care what your problem is, your problem is, your problem is. Working these programs helps for all of them. Yes. And we all can identify with the fact that we got something to work on. And that's fine. So we're working on it. So this is the right place for us to be. And exchange numbers, talk to each other, get close to each other, do things together. At least we know we ain't drinking and doing anything stupid. So at least we can feel that peace and continue to move forward. So we need to stop alienating from relationships. Build them. Learn how to be a friend so you can have friends. That was my biggest thing. Well, I don't have any friends. I got nobody to talk to. Somebody said, you don't know how to be a friend? And I'm like, okay, there's that. So it took a while. Last letter. Should I wait, or you guys want to know? Oh, no, okay. Denial lengthens the pain. And I can tell you it truly does. Okay? We have the false belief that denial protects us from the pain, but in reality, denial allows our pain to fester and grow into shame and guilt. Denial extends your hurt and multiplies your problem. Truth, like surgery, hurts for a little while, but it cures. God promises us in Jeremiah 30:17 that I will give you back your health again and heal your wounds. And what's funny is, when he does that, we have a story to tell. We can help the next person. It's kind of funny how that works. It really does. All right, guys, so tonight, as we finish this off, I encourage you to step out of your denial. Walking out of your denial is not easy. It's not a one-day thing. It's not a one-and-done snap your fingers and you're over. Taking off the mask is harder. Okay? Everybody shouts, don't do it, it's not safe. It's safe to celebrate recovery. We're good people here, and we got nothing to fear. Here you have people who care about you, love you for who you are. And they've been there and done that. There's nothing you can tell us that we haven't already been through. We're done. I mean, we've all been there. So, I mean, these are people that can stand beside you as you go forward in life. Jesus says, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So step out of your denial so you can step into Jesus' unconditional love and grace and begin your healing journey of recovery. I'll leave you with this. Life is lived forward, but it's understood backwards. Stay on the path, and you'll see yourself. Thank you, guys. We have a list here for anybody who wants to volunteer for